Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and what better way to start off a week than watching some good old-fashioned Halo Infinite campaign gameplay. After a year and change, 343 has finally re-revealed this campaign, and we get to dissect it and discuss all we saw in today's video. Also, today is Monday, and I mean actually Monday, unlike on my video on Thursday where I said it was Monday. Yes, that means it's actually Retro Rebound Day, and that means we have a new video on the channel. It's my latest game pickups. I wanted to highlight some of the recent scores I found in my local game shops, tell you all the prices I got them for, so that's available in the link in the description down below if you want to check that out. I have a lot to say on this one, so get cozy. If you're new here, you're looking for more Halo coverage, there's plenty more on the way. Consider subscribing. We'd love to have you here. But now let's talk Halo Infinite's campaign. The speculation was that we would see a campaign re-reveal at the anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved, as well as Xbox's 20th anniversary. Now that's kind of out of the window, so I wonder what they're going to do for that separately, if not just show off more for Halo. But beyond that, we are now seeing the campaign gameplay again. The first thing that's most apparent, because it led to so much backlash when it was revealed in August of 2020, are the graphical enhancements. We saw as much in the Halo flight tests, but of course with the campaign being held so close to 343's chest, between the story details to how it's going to play, what's going on with it, how will it perform. Of course, now we're missing co-op, which after seeing this, it's feeling sorely missed, in my opinion. You never quite knew on the level of graphics. And now seeing it, yeah, they've improved things. They showed Craig up close and personal. Everything across the board looks much better. That was to be expected, and to me personally, that was my biggest gripe going into the campaign gameplay last year, was this doesn't look like a Xbox Series X launch title. Even if it was going across multiple generations, it just didn't look up to par, but it looked very fun. We found out it is very fun through the flight tests, and it consistently looked fun throughout the entire campaign overview. In this overview, they firmed up some story details, how the Zeta Halo ring is taken over by the Banished. By the way, if you have not, I highly recommend playing Halo Wars 2. This is where they get a lot of the spotlight. Also, I've heard that you should read Shadows of Reach, as they're really borrowing from that book as well, so that may be some good insight on where the campaign is going, and that these Banished are hunting Chief as well as the rest of the UNSC. You're following the events of Halo 5 and wondering what happened to Cortana. Master Chief discovers a new AI which was created to lock down Cortana, but she doesn't know why, and that's something we learned previously in a old trailer for Halo Infinite, but now we're seeing her yet again. She seems to be a major part of this game. That's really all we know on the story, and I'm kind of in the middle on this because I think there's a lot of trust being lent to 343 that they're showing us the same area again. They're keeping those story details very close to their chest, and in one manner it could be, oh wow, this is so good, they don't want to spoil anything or show anything, which nowadays in video game marketing I think is much appreciated, because unfortunately we live in a day and age where there are some games that are flat out ruined before they even come out by the teams making them. I'm talking like Kingdom Hearts, Neil, the World Ends With You. Their final trailers literally show final boss footage, and it blows my mind. But even games that are tame in marketing still show off a lot, where there's not as many surprises when the game finally comes out. So if they're keeping it close to their chest because they want to surprise us, I'm honestly okay with that, because I'm convinced already the game is fun, and what I saw here looked solid enough. However, as always, I like to just make sure the audience is aware they could always be keeping it close to the chest because they're not feeling too hot about it, and they're like, let's show them the same forest region again. With that brings in the conversation of the world structure. So we're seeing checklist hubs in this, and if you watched my Far Cry 6 review, you know I really just hammered the living hell out of checklist open world games. Now, my issue with checklist open worlds is really not the existence of objectives that you complete and you get a completionist attitude towards the entire content of the game. I think that's actually really fun. It's about how you approach it. Fortunately, Halo Infinite is built like a sandbox, so I think the checklist objectives here could be quite fun despite the structure being very familiar. We'll see, of course, when we get our hands on it. But a lot of people were worried that this was just going to be one sole area in an open world, and that was it. This forest region was all we were getting, which, by the way, I kind of dig the forest region in general. Halo Combat Evolved is my personal favorite Halo, and I love the second mission in the game because of how open it is, and to me, this looks like a broad, expanded version of that mission, which is one of my very favorites. But some had thought, well, maybe no snow missions or desert missions or anything different from the forest region. And I think the idea here, based off some research I did, is that there will be multiple hub areas that you'll complete. The reason I say that is right here, you can see on the bottom left corner of the map, it says area collectibles. And you can see a small number of these collectibles throughout. I was thinking to myself, this doesn't seem to be enough collectibles to hold up an entire Halo game, let alone an open world. So my guess is that you eventually leave this region, especially because at the end you see Chief nosedive into a pelican as they fly out of the area. So I'm thinking to myself that upon finishing the final mission of that region, you will go somewhere else. The way I would compare the structure of this game, if you want anything, is Metro Exodus or Gears of War 5. More so Gears of War 5 because we know the Coalition is helping out 343 on this game, and I think they took some of their bag of tricks and their playbook over to 343 on how they should structure their campaign. So you're going to have these open world sections, which for some of the Gears fan base was hit or miss. I love the first half of Gears 5. I thought the second half was where you saw the open world stuff start to hurt the game because the pacing for the story got really messed up. But overall, I think it was a positive addition to the franchise, but I understand the idea of open area fatigue. I hope this is something kind of like Final Fantasy 15, which may sound like a really weird comparison, but as Final Fantasy 15 went on, you had an open world that shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and gradually put you down a path. And while I'm very critical of that game, I do like that approach, and I hope Halo eventually takes that for more structured set pieces, for bigger moments in the game to really hit. To me, that would be the best of both worlds here, but I wouldn't freak out yet that this is fully open world. They've made that clear. So I definitely have my reservations for this world structure, but I think there's a lot of potential in it. I am king hub based, right? My favorite game of all time, KOTOR, is hub. Anything I have really truly loved dearly, The Outer Worlds, Dishonored, hubs. I think hubs are great because you get a best of both worlds. It's got that free openness of an open world, but it's tight, it's compact, where a set amount of things can happen there. There's variety throughout the entire game, and it doesn't wear you down like an open world does, creating fatigue. So while I don't think we should start singing its praises quite yet, I'm feeling a little bit more confident in the approach they're taking because it's not going to be full open world. I just would be very much concerned if we stayed in one of these regions for far too long. I was also reading some of the mission descriptions, and one of them is removing a FOB from the network, and it says, when controlled, forward operating bases reveal banished and UNSC activity in the surrounding region, serving as a fast travel hub and rally points for UNSC Marines, fire support, and provide access to vehicle drops, which we actually can see right here, weapons and weapon variants. Gaining Valor unlocks available resources at all captured FOBs. Defeat the banished and access the control terminal to claim this FOB. The way this FOB sounds when they say you can see UNSC and banished activity, to me strikes me as the Ubisoft synchronization point. So they are definitely taking some pages out of that playbook. Spider-Man PS4 did it. A lot of games do it to mark activities on your map. I don't know why games are so scared of like dynamic encounters and having them become marked, where you actually have to search the world, discover things, rather than marking them as little blips and you just chase down the waypoint. But again, this has been done a lot of times before, so I'm not too upset about it. However, this is where I thought things got a little weird. So you see this enemy named Tremonius, who's a mini boss. They have a health bar, they have a shield bar. Then you see a upgrade tree, which had been rumored for a while, where you have the grapple shot, a shield core, which we see one of the upgrades enhances the shield capacity to 115%, so you can take more damage. There's a threat sensor, a drop wall, thrusters, which have multiple upgrades that are shown off. The first upgrade adds a second thrust. The second upgrade reduces the cooldown by 20%. The third allows for further and faster travel, and the fourth adds a 4-second cloak in the final upgrade, which you can actually see in action right afterwards on how it works against one of the banished. You can spend Spartan cores, as they mark on the top right corner, to unlock said upgrades. This is where I just scratched my head a little and went, okay, wow, they are doing a kind of skill system in Halo. I like the change of pace when you look at Halo from top to bottom, whether it be your favorites of 1 and 3 and 2 and of course Reach. There's so many different ones. They never really had any of the things we're talking about in today's video, which is why I think it's pretty exciting. But what's interesting is a lot of this is stuff we've seen in a ton of games before. And I've always been of the mindset that not every game needs a skill list. Not every game needs to be open world. And this game seems to be mixing a little bit of everything together. Hubs, openness, sandbox gameplay, skills. And this is again why I said they're likely taking a big page out of the Gears 5 playbook, because in Gears 5, as you completed those objectives, you'd get upgrades for your little bot, and they would do all different things. To me, that lost some of the compelling loop as I got deeper in the game, and eventually I just straight shot the rest of the story because I stopped caring. And that sucked because I left behind some interesting locations that I could have maybe explored, but knowing what was at the end of them was a little boring. But with Halo and its ordnance drops and all the different weapons and upgrades you can get, again, with the sandbox gameplay, that is the defining factor here. I can make it a lot more fun in my eyes. Time will tell on that. They revealed an enemy type known as the Skimmer, which are these flying bug-looking things. And they also have this Spartan killer with an energy sword and energy shield. I thought this guy looked dope. I think that's going to be the most interesting part, is if they have these side quests, these stories you discover. That's one thing I never really thought of with Halo Infinite, and seeing that there, I thought, okay, they can actually tell something really cool, especially with Halo being able to have really great environmental storytelling. When you look at certain moments in the past where you happen upon a bunch of loot, and you'll find yourself like grabbing the sniper rifle or grabbing the shotgun real quick, but if you look closely at what Bungie had crafted with the blood trails, where the Marines died, where the aliens were dead, or where they were posted up later in the level, you could kind of put a story together in your head. It actually has something a little bit more unique be told to you in this universe, I think can be actually really cool. So we'll see how they handle all of that. But ultimately, those are the highlights we saw from Halo Infinite's campaign overview. For me, I'm happy to see it because, again, I was expecting them to do this at the anniversary event, and I was saying in the podcast on Defining Duke, as well as Ham Radio Live, I think it's a little too late at that point. If we are showing off the campaign again for the first time since August of last year, when we're 3 weeks from launch, when it would have been at the anniversary event, I think that would have been far too late and would have looked like they were hiding something. Showing it now, to me, shows at least some level of confidence, right? The flight tests have been very transparent, but I'm talking about if they were hiding this to the anniversary event, those couple of weeks to me made a pretty big difference. So showing it now was definitely a positive sign. What I saw in the game, I thought was pretty encouraging, but I really want to lay my hands on it. And this is one of those things where over time, when more people play the full game, we'll be able to get a better picture, because I don't even think a snapshot of this could be really telling for what Halo Infinite's going to be like. What are the location changes going to be like? What is the pacing of the open world going to be like? Does it slim down, send you down a pathway? How long is the game? That's another thing. And also, we've talked about Halo Infinite being a platform. Do updates come and bloat these areas up where when someone comes in a year after launch, this game is loaded with way more content than it ever needed? Obviously, a lot of question marks there. Some will take a very long time to answer. Some can be answered very quickly. But just my overall thoughts on Halo Infinite's campaign. I like what I saw. Definitely very, very excited for this game entirely. I still think to this day about my flight test for Halo Infinite and how fun this game was. So at least I know the multiplayer is looking really strong. And if the campaign is at least good, this is going to be a really, really strong release for Xbox. And ultimately, we'll show to them, hey, look what happens when you delay the game, let the team take their time. They release something much better. So I'm feeling good, feeling the energy of Halo Infinite coursing through me. And I think that they got a winner here. It's looking really solid. So time will tell if that ends up being the case. But right now, feeling a lot better about things. But again, there are some lingering question marks that we'll have to have answered as always. So with that, I leave you with my thoughts on Halo Infinite. Let me know what you're thinking about the campaign in the comments down below. I'm certainly looking forward to your thoughts. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.